All right, guys, so we're gonna go over some basics of color theory, and we're gonna create a color wheel. So this is one of the 4 pieces of paper that you have left in your kit. You should have one left after we use this one. If that's not the case, just rip a page out of your sketchbook. It'll work, just not as well, but we can still make it happen. I've got my watercolor palette. This is my little example of my clay food that we're gonna be making that we're gonna need to mix colors to be able to paint. Got my water cup and my paintbrush. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wake up my watercolors, and I'm gonna focus mainly on my primary colors, which are red, blue, and yellow. Just waking them up. Okay, I've also got my pencil because we're gonna be labeling stuff. So we're gonna start with our primary colors, and our primary colors make a triangle on the color wheel. So I'm drawing the circle, I'm writing the words, and we're ready to get started. So to start with yellow, just gonna make sure my brush has lots of yellow on it. I'm gonna paint that in, okay? Do the same thing with red and blue. Now, if I wanted to make a light blue, I could get some water up on my lid here. It's my little mixing palette, and I can drop some blue in. That's gonna make it a lighter blue. Okay, so I'm gonna add a couple of tints here. It's called a tint when we make a lighter version of a color. So I'm gonna make a tint of my yellow. If I wanna make it even lighter, I drop in even more water. Okay, and then I'm gonna do a tint of my red. Notice how I've got them kind of separated out here. A little bit more water. Okay, so you can see how it's getting lighter, right? The more water that I add. Okay, now we're gonna do our secondary colors. Those are gonna make an upside down triangle. In between red and blue is purple, AKA violet. Between red and yellow is orange. In between yellow and blue is green. Now we're gonna actually mix these. So it would be easy to just grab that green out of there, but I'm gonna mix it. Okay, so between yellow and blue, who do we think is a stronger color? Who's gonna overpower it more? Blue. So I'm just gonna take the tiniest little bit of blue on my brush, and I'm gonna mix it in. Okay, it needs more blue than that. Okay, and there I've got my green. This is like our grass green, so I'm gonna go ahead and fill that in. That's my green. Okay, to make purple, between blue and red, red's a little bit stronger than yellow was, but not a whole bunch, so I'm gonna take a little bit of red in here, and I'm gonna mix them together until I get that purple. This is like that K-State purple. And then in my last little slot up here, I'm gonna make orange. So red plus yellow, oops, makes my orange. Now that looks like a red orange, so I need to add more yellow to it. Get that pumpkin orange. I'm gonna fill it in. Okay, that's our secondary colors. Now, in between those are what are called tertiaries. And they tell you where they live on the color wheel. So for instance, yellow-green lives in between yellow and green. Blue-green lives in between blue and green. Blue-violet, red-violet, and red-orange. So I already had my red-orange going, but if it was too pumpkin orange, I would just mix in a dab more of that red. So this is like a really dark orange. I should see a difference between these 3 colors, okay? Okay, I'm gonna take my green into yellow green. That's that lime green. I gotta add more yellow to it to get that lime green. Okay, for yellow orange, this might be too dark, so I might wanna lift some of it out with a paper towel, or I can just add the yellow right onto it until I get to that yellow orange. Now, if I'm not digging how that looks, I can also glaze the yellow right on top of it. You see, I just went straight from the palette onto my paper. That works too. Okay, blue-green. You guys like to call this one turquoise. It's gonna be a little bit of blue, touch of yellow, more of that turquoisey color. I'm gonna add a little bit more blue here. Ooh, there we go. It's that blue-green. Okay, I'm gonna push my little purple pile over here. And I'm gonna add in more blue. To get to that blue violet, this is like our midnight blue. It's like our midnight blue. Okay, for red violet, it's gonna be red plus a little bit of purple, or a little bit of blue is how we get to that purple. And this is like a maroon color. Sometimes it looks like pink. Okay. Now for any of these, if I wanna make them lighter, I add more water. If I wanna make them darker, I add more pigment, which is what's in the pans. Okay, what about a red color, like you saw on my donut there? So a good red color is gonna be yellow plus brown. Okay, let me clear this out here. So if I wanted to make a good bread color, I would just go yellow. Plus brown's a little bit darker, so I'm not gonna use a ton. That's a good bread color. What about, why don't you try to mix all three primaries together, see if you can get brown. So that's red and yellow, and then I'm gonna add some blue in. That blue is too much. I need to add more. Looks kind of purpley, so I wanna add who's across the color wheel from it. If it looks too purple, I add yellow. If it looks too orange, I add blue. If it looks too green, I add red, okay? This is gonna make a gray instead of a brown, that's all right. That's kind of brown. And then I'm gonna place that right in the middle. So that's when I mix all the primaries together. Okay, so try to mix that brown with it. Okay, you can use this outside area to test out a couple other colors that you might wanna use. For instance, for this light pink that I wanted to do, I mixed up this red violet and then I added a bunch of water to it. So that's like my frosting color. And then maybe I wanna test what color my sprinkles are gonna be. Okay, if you use color straight out of the pan, I'm gonna be able to tell. So try your hard to mix it. I know you guys can do it. When you're finished, you can either save your colors in the lid or you can wipe them out, up to you. Make sure you clean your brush and you let your water palette dry open because we are going to use watercolor to paint our tiny clay food. All right, you got it, guys.